And then we had this. So I do think that Turkey has decided that its reputation, its sovereignty has been challenged by Israel. And they've talked about, at the very least, minimizing the political contact with Israel, the diplomatic relations with them. And it's a challenging time for Turkey as well, because it's wondering whether to look, I guess, east or still look west in terms of joining the European Union. And of course, let's remember, what is required here is for Israel to see sense and to lift the siege on Gaza. It's acting very irrationally in actually maintaining the siege or looking to soften it a little bit. It's very clear. If Israel lifts the siege, and then we move on to other issues such as ending the occupation, there will be no need for flotilla to try and challenge this siege. And therefore, let's place the problem where it is, which is with Israel and its determination to follow this policy, which its allies tell it is not working in terms of delivering security to Israel.
Ray McGovern, let's look at the region as a whole. I mean, we see what Turkey is doing, but there has been a rapprochement, and that involves Turkey. It's now thrown into full speed between Iran, Turkey, and Syria. We saw that in the Asia Summit in Turkey on Tuesday, the 8th of June, which for all practical purposes may transform the region positively in the process, since, well, they all reject Israel and its policies. And is that going to mean that they're going to leave the United States behind in the meantime? And shouldn't the U.S. seize this opportunity to come into that?
Well, I think the interesting and most important thing is that Turkey is acting with a great deal of courage and with a great deal of anger. You know, they're pursuing justice here, and their God is one who doesn't like to see little people kicked around, okay? Now, I see the difference here starting in Switzerland and Davos, when the Israeli president had the poor sense of judgment to deliver a defense of the attacks on Gaza, that 22-day offensive where 1,400 Palestinians were killed. He defended that ad nauseum, and our friend Erdogan, the Prime Minister of Turkey, was given 12 minutes to respond. You can see the BBC video on that. It's quite extraordinary. Erdogan raises up in his seat and he says, "Have you heard about thou shalt not kill? You guys are supposed to know the commandments. That's what we're talking about here in Gaza, killing." And he walked off the stage because another neocon, Ignatius of the Washington Post, wouldn't let him continue. Now, I think it started there. And as they looked at what was about to happen to Iran, and that's very serious because these sanctions were just the first step. Netanyahu and company wanted very much to mount a military offensive against Iran. Erdogan got together with De Silva of Brazil and said, let's stop this. Let's stop another Iraq. And they did. And they were encouraged to do that by the President of the United States, who sent them personal letters asking them to do that, as creating more credibility, more confidence, okay? And guess what happened? The President of the United States got suborned here by Hillary Clinton and the neocons, and while he was busy with the Gulf of Mexico, they were busy with the Persian Gulf, and vetoed what the President had asked the President of Brazil and the Prime Minister of Turkey to do. So Erdogan was already fit to be tied when he decided to sponsor these ships, and when he saw how the Israelis treated them. He's not going to stop now. He's not got a big Israel lobby in Turkey. There is going to be some action on Erdogan's part. And I remind you, Erdogan is an ally of the United States. Israel is not.
Okay, let's go to Max Ayala in Gaza. And I'm going to ask each guest this. After all that's said and done, there are going to be more aid ships planning to sail to Gaza. How do you see the future? Will we see more killings by Israel, or will the siege on Gaza finally be lifted?
I think that it's hard to know exactly how it's going to play out. Major Israeli defense analysts, people in the establishment, are saying that the siege on Gaza is a failed policy. The siege on Gaza is a form of collective punishment, also known as terrorism, which is intended to make the people of Gaza overthrow their government. On that basis, it has totally failed. The question is if the Israeli leadership will be wise enough to lift the policy sooner rather than later. It's going to lift at some point. That's point one. Point two is that we have to keep in mind that the siege of Gaza, as a really horrible thing, started in 2005. But Gaza has been under one or another form of siege really since closer to 1993, if not earlier.
Okay.
Its borders have not been fully open. People have not had full freedom of transit.
I want to get some more reactions on the question. I apologize. Let me come to Kamel Hawash. The same question to you, Kamel.
As the point is to try and enforce a separation of the West.
Let's go to Kamel Hawash. In less than 15 seconds, the future aid flotillas going to the Gaza, what will happen? Will they be attacked again by Israel?
I think the Rafah crossing will now remain open. What Israel wants to do is to sort of dissipate some of the anger through saying, well, the Rafah crossing is open, people are going in and out, but it's really about the reconstruction effort, because we can't have the Gazans live in tents for the second successive winter, and that will be the test. And I think the flotilla will continue unless Israel allows that to aid through.
Ray McGovern, you have the last few seconds, in about 20 seconds, your reaction to the question.
Well, I'm deeply concerned at the erratic behavior of the Israeli government. We talk about siege. Well, there's another application for siege, and that's a siege mentality, and that's what reigns in Tel Aviv at present. I'm very afraid, for example, if the Iranian Revolutionary Guards try to accompany one of these flotillas into Gaza, I'm very afraid that the Israelis will use that as a pretext to start a war against Iran. They are erratic, and they have nuclear weapons. Is something to be very, very concerned about.
Thank you. You had the last words there. Former CIA analyst Ray McGovern there from Washington. Vice Chairman of the Palestine Solidarity Campaign, Kamel Hawash from London. We thank you for your statements. And member of the Gaza Freedom March, Max Ayel from Gaza. That brings us to an end for this edition of Press TV News Analysis. Of course, we want to thank you, the viewer. Don't forget to catch us on presstv.ir for a text of this news analysis. And for repeats, you can go on to YouTube. Press TV Global News is our address. From me, Kaveh Tahweh, and the team, it's goodbye for now.